evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight to it. Petrol and diesel prices have been hiked again. This is the first time in September, almost 25 paise since the 17th of July. Now in Mumbai, a litre of petrol will cost you 107 rupees and 47 paise per litre. Diesel is at 97 rupees and 21 paise. In Delhi, petrol is 101 rupees and 39 paise per litre. Diesel is at 98 rupees and 57. According to PTI, the announcement that came in said global demand for crude oil has been increasing consistently with the easing of pandemic restrictions and improvement of vaccination rates. On the supply side, OPEC's alliance has been slow in easing output restrictions, contributing to a tightened supply in the market. So if I were to break that down into simple English, basically means the world is now opening up because most of the portions of the West, which is the biggest demand of petrol and diesel and crude, across the world is starting to open up and going back to normal, which means that the demand for crude is starting to come back. And also OPEC, which is the, it's an organization of petroleum producing countries in the Gulf. They have not, eased their output. So they're actually controlled output in order to maintain a price. So between these two things, what's happening is the price is going up. But we must also remind you that when lockdowns were actually announced in 2020, March, April 2020, the price of crude crashed because suddenly nobody wanted crude anymore. And at that point, the Indian government increased taxes drastically, maintaining the price. So it swallowed that difference. And now you have an increasing price plus taxes, which is why we're paying more than 100 rupees for petrol in India. Well, the crisis in Punjab continues, although it's gone way past crisis right now. Navjot Singh Sidhu has decided to quit as the president of the Punjab Congress 2 months after assuming his post. Remember, there was a very public spat after which the Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh, resigned, and Navjot Singh Sidhu was seen as to have won that bout, but he has also resigned now. Now, this comes as a blow to the Congress in Punjab because assembly elections will be held in February, March next year. In a letter addressed to Sonia Gandhi, Navjot Singh Sidhu said, and I quote, "The collapse of a man's character stems from the compromise corner. I can never compromise on Punjab's future and the agenda for the welfare of Punjab. Therefore, I hereby resign as the president of Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee. I will continue to serve the Congress," end quote. The former Punjab Chief Minister, Captain Amrinder Singh, who has been criticizing Sidhu non-stop on Twitter, said, and I quote, "I told you so. He is not a stable man and is not fit for the border state of Punjab," end quote. Sidhu's resignation coincides with Amrinder Singh's visit to Delhi. Amrinder Singh resigned as Chief Minister 10 days ago, complaining that he was being humiliated by the party. Now, speculation really in the media points to the fact that while Sidhu was made the head of the Congress in the state of Punjab, he wasn't given, according to his camp, enough of a say in the cabinet ministers who were chosen for the new chief minister, Charanjit Singh Chani. Also, he was not happy with the various members who were being picked and promoted in the state of Punjab. In the meantime, former JNU student leader Kanhaiya Kumar has joined the Congress along with Jignesh Mewani, Gujarat MLA, in the presence of Congress party leader Rahul Gandhi. Kanhaiya Kumar was a member of the Communist Party of India and Jignesh Mewani, an independent MLA from Vadgam in constituency in Gujarat. According to Jignesh Mewani, he hasn't officially joined the Congress yet because that would mean that he would be disqualified from his seat as MLA. So he remains independent, but he will apparently contest the next election as a Congress party member. According to ANI, Kanhaiya Kumar said, and I quote, "I am joining the Congress because it is not just a party, it is an idea. It is the country's oldest and most democratic party, and I'm emphasizing on democratic, not just me. Many think the country cannot survive without the Congress," end quote. In another drug haul that has come in, customs officials have seized 150 kgs of marijuana from a port in Tamil Nadu. The drugs were reportedly being smuggled to Sri Lanka, and the boat was owned by a popular Tamil vlogger. Customs officials are on the lookout for the rest of the suspects connected with drug smuggling. The exact value of the seized drug is yet to be ascertained. The Office of the Director General of Civil Aviation has announced that scheduled international commercial flights as a suspension will continue until the 31st of October. Remember, because of COVID, in March 2020, all international flights were suspended, after which India started the Vande Bharat mission. This was in May 2020. There was an air bubble, bilateral air bubble. Specific flights were allowed to go through. That effectively continues until the end of October. So they actually assess the situation and extend it 1 month at a time. A quick look at our COVID numbers. India has reported less than 20,000 daily cases. That's good news. And reported now 18,795. So this is apparently the first time since March that we've reported less than 20,000 cases. We've reported also 179 deaths. Kerala has reported out of those 18,000 cases, 11,000 have come from Kerala. Maharashtra recorded 2,432 cases, the lowest number of daily infections since February, before the second wave started. Still not enough reason to let our guard down. According to PTI, the regional director of WHO Southeast Asia, Poonam Singh, has said that the coronavirus will continue to transmit for a very long time, and the level of immunity in a community through vaccination and previous infection will determine whether or not it will become endemic in the long run. The endemic stage is basically when the population learns to live with the virus. So chickenpox, for example, malaria, hepatitis are examples of endemic diseases. Also, the Indian drugs regulator, and this is an important one, the Central Drug Standards Control Organization has allowed the Serum Institute of India to enroll children between the ages of 7 and 11 years old for its COVID vaccine trial. The Serum Institute of India is already conducting trials for its COVID vaccine from ages 12 to 17. So far, only Zydus Cadila DNA COVID vaccine has received emergency approval in India for the use for adults and for children above the age of 12. Taking a look now at news coming in from across the world. Fuel stations are running dry in the UK due to a lack of drivers who can actually drive the fuel supply to the retail pumps. Now, in the middle of this, panic buying has actually worsened the shortage. AFP reported that Britain on Monday put up the army on standby to help with the ongoing fuel crisis. This comes after many drivers who used to drive fuel trucks went back to their countries after Brexit. According to Reuters, pumps across British cities are either closed or have signs up saying fuel is unavailable on Monday. The Energy Ministry Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy released a statement saying, and I quote, "Limited number of military tanker drivers will be put on a state of readiness and deployed if necessary to further stabilize the fuel supply chain," end quote. In other news, overseas, while defending its visa curbs that have prevented thousands of stranded people in India from returning to Beijing, China has said that the measures were appropriate to control the spread of COVID and was not targeting India alone in any way. Responding to criticism from the Indian ambassador about China's travel restrictions, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson has said, and I quote, "China's measures are appropriate, and also I would like to say that China applies quarantine measures to all inbound travelers. China is willing to have good arrangements on bilateral travel of personnel." Thousands of students, especially medical students, businessmen, employees, their families have been stuck in India since the last year. They need to go back to China to resume work, but they're losing their jobs right now because they aren't able to return to their places of work. An update now from the world of sports. UEFA has dropped its disciplinary charges against Real Madrid, Barcelona and Juventus over their involvement in the European Super League. It means that the clubs will not face any action for the time being, or no further action at least. These three clubs are among the 12 founding clubs who were involved in the proposed midweek competition. The three clubs were threatened with severe punishment for their refusal to drop out of a plot to create the new league. Now, basically what happened was there was a very controversial plot to form a new competition called the Super League, which would challenge the Champions League's supremacy in the European Union football. 9 other clubs were announced to join the league with the founding members Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham and AC Milan and Inter. The plan fell apart as UEFA and other national football associations across Europe spoke out against that idea. And a piece of positive news before we leave you for today. India has administered more than 1 crore vaccines on Monday. This is the 5th time the administration has managed more than 1 crore vaccines in a single day. Till date, the cumulative number of COVID vaccines administered in the country has crossed 86 crore. 16.8% of our population now is fully vaccinated. Of course, we have to get closer to 45 or 50% to be able to confidently take on the virus on a more permanent sense. But 1 crore a day is a massive number. And if you're able to do that with some level of consistency, it means we will hit our target much faster. That brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for listening to Just the News. Give us a thumbs up in the comments section if you got to the end of the bulletin. And a word of encouragement. It really warms our hearts to read what you have to say for us. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.